Thank you so much. Now, these stage lights are not nearly bright enough. I can still see everyone. Well, hey, y'all. I am so excited to be here. I've been so impressed with this conference, with everyone that I've met in the past few days, the organizers, hearing about all the volunteers and everything that goes into making this event happen, all the hype that led up to this event. It turned out exactly as I expected. It's really, really incredible. I've been so impressed, and I've had such a great time here in Perth. Everyone has been so welcoming, and I've had a great time. I went to the Rot Nest yesterday, and someone said, "I can't tell where the quokka ends and the beard begins." Had a fantastic time. I also went to Kings Park, and I have sure enjoyed my time in Perth so far. It's hard to believe, but it's been almost 18 years since the original Xbox was launched. And me and my sons, we had one of these, and one of our favorite games on the old Xbox was Ty the Tasmanian Tiger. And if you've played it, you probably think, well, it's an awful representation of Australia, right? But we learned a lot about Australia through this game. I mean, all my experience with Australia has been through this game up to this point. Ty, the tiger, he taught us things like bonsai and you beauty and you little ripper. I don't know what a ripper is, but it sounded great. There was also Ken the Ranger Ken. He taught us phrases like "G'day, copper," and "You're a dead set legend, mate." And our favorite character, Maury, he's kind of like the guide through the game, and he taught us phrases like, "Tie, mate, strike me lucky, stop mucking about. Well, that's rare as hen's teeth, mate. You got a fair dinkum rainbow scale." And my favorite, "Struth." So even to this day, when I'm talking with my sons, either we get together or we're talking over the phone, one of these is going to come up, I'm talking to my son Benjamin in Nashville, and "Struth." I don't know what struth means, but it sounds great. Now, I'm from the South in the U.S., deep in the heart of the South, as we say, and I speak fluent redneck. I thought it's only fair that I teach you some Southern slang so that you can impress your friends and coworkers. What do you think? All right. So you've heard me say y'all, so let me explain. There's more nuance to this than just y'all. So when you're talking to one person, you're going to say you, but if you mean a few people or a bunch of people, you can say y'all. There's another variation, though, that if you mean everyone, you say all y'all. So, to give you an example, all y'all need to let the organizers and volunteers of DDDPerth know, yet again, how appreciative you are for this day. Likta. This is pronounced likta. And when I realized, to give you an example, hang on a second. When I realized that I was going to take 4 planes and 36 hours to get to Perth, I like to crap my pants. Like to. Fixin' to. You're about to do something, but you ain't done it yet. In the South, people are always fixing to do something. So I'm fixing to rip out this code because it ain't worth the hill of beans. Over yonder and over. Over yonder is like you're giving directions. You can't see it, but it's in this general direction. Like over yonder is Rottnest Island, somewhere. Or you can say over is the coffee and snacks. Or slap out. That's when you're real tired. After all that walking around Rottnest and Kings Park, I was wore slap out. Piddling. Now this might be close to your mucking about. Stop piddling with that database and come over and help me with this code. And then, dang. It's an all-time favorite in the South, and there's useful for a lot of situations. Something bad happens, dang. Something good happens, dang. And then you got dang's cousin, DAGGUM. It's also useful in a variety of situations. And then dagnabbit, another good variation. So, dagnabbit, I swear I'm fixing to throw this code out the daggum window. So now you can talk some redneck too. That's worth the price of admission right there. Dang straight. Darn tootin'. All right, so some of you are really excited. You've been soaking up lots and lots of content today, and you can't wait to get back to your unsuspecting coworkers and unleash all your new knowledge in one big swoop, right? Some of you, on the other hand, may be feeling a little bit overwhelmed or anxious. You're probably thinking, well, how am I going to learn all this new stuff, and how am I going to convince my boss to let me do any of these new things? And I'm up here to, close out the day and throw a bunch more new information at you. What can we talk about? Well, we could talk about the future of computing being serverless, whatever the heck that means. Serverless, yes. Or we could talk about IoT and machine learning, artificial intelligence. These are all really hot topics, and you should be connecting everything in your household to the cloud and reaping all the benefits. Or we could talk about the latest JavaScript framework. It's created only a couple of hours ago. You should be dropping everything that you've done and switch to this new framework. What I want to do, though, is I want to give you maybe a new lens to see your world, a bigger lens. I think maybe one of the most important things you can come away with is a fresh perspective on your life and your career. I'm here to tell you that you are awesome. You may not realize it yet, but you were born with some pretty fantastic, skills and amazing tools. Unfortunately, all of us have had to deal with lies. As we got older, more and more of these lies have crept in to our minds. People have, there's lies that people have told us. There's lies that the world has told us, and the lies that we've actually told ourselves. We compare ourselves to others, and we think, well, I don't measure up. That person's really awesome. I can't be like that person. But that's a lot of bull. And I challenge you to stop listening to those lies. Instead, I want to give you some truths that you can start to think about. So maybe you can repeat these to yourselves. You are smart. You're here. You've learned a lot of stuff. You are in such a small percentage of the world. The things that you do with computers and software and programming and design, I mean, that's magic for 99% of the world. You are strong. You are beautiful. You can sing, maybe metaphorically. So sing through the code that you write, the things that you create. You are loved. You're loved right now. You deserve to be loved, and you will be loved in the future. You are not a failure. Making mistakes is a part of life. Mistakes are inevitable. You look at any successful person, they are standing on a burning trash heap of mistakes. Mistakes don't make you a failure. You are not broken. The thing that makes you different, that makes you unique, also makes you incredibly valuable. It's not something to be ashamed of. It should be something that you embrace and make the most of. You are wonderful. You matter to someone. You are valuable than all the gold and money in the world. You are never too far gone. Don't give up on yourself. You belong. You are amazing. You are awesome. So you are not defined by those lies that may be swimming around in your head. There's no need to compare yourself to others. You are the most awesome person that you will ever meet. You were born with an insatiable desire to learn and explore. You have the capacity to achieve far more than you might have ever imagined. You're never too young or too old to learn something new. Creativity and imagination, those are like a muscle. The more you use them, the stronger it's going to get, and the more powerful they will become. You still have this muscle, but some of you may need to blow the dust off and start using them again. Now, 4 years ago, I discovered I had a passion for drawing. Okay, it was more like this. And I started out, I was inspired by a guy who wrote a book called Show and Tell. And I started by drawing crude stick figures, lines and arrows and shapes, and that was it. I mean, these were craptastic drawings, but I had so much fun doing it and became, a hobby of mine. I didn't want to stop. And about 3 years ago, I drew this for one of my talks, and some of you may recognize it as being the ShamWow, cheesy sales guy. And I was so proud of this drawing. It took me a long time to do it. I made a lot of mistakes and go back and erase and draw things again. But it had the effect that I wanted, and people would chuckle, and they enjoyed it. And I would show this anytime I was about to give a demo. Well, about a year ago, I decided, I want to try drawing the same thing again, to see if I could do any better. And I did, and I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe how much better I can draw now. I was shocked by how far I had progressed in drawing. Now, I'm not telling you this story to brag or to, puff myself up anyway or whatever. I am truly amazed that I've been able to get as far as I've come, and I'm continuing to get better. And I had this aha moment. Well, I've been investing so much time in doing this. Well, yeah, of course I would have gotten better. And I realized that just like learning a new programming language, learning a new musical instrument, any of those kinds of things, you've got to invest some time in. Now, people will tell me that, wow, you are so gifted. And I say, no, I don't think that's it at all. The gift is perhaps that spark, that desire, that passion for pursuing something. The gift really is every day that we're given, we have another opportunity to choose how we spend our time and to invest in something that we're excited about, that we enjoy. And the rest of it is the time and effort that you're willing to put into following that dream. I believe without a doubt that whatever it is that you want to do or want to get better at, you can do it. I think it only takes 3 essential ingredients for you to have determination, for you to practice, and for you to have some patience with yourself. Because making slow, incremental, practice every day, it's going to seem like you're not making any progress at all. But over time, you can look back and say, wow, I can't believe how far I've come. You know this about writing code, right? You look back on something that you wrote 6 months ago or a year ago and say, who wrote that crap? Oh, yeah, I did. And you progress and you get better because you're doing it on a regular basis. Now, we love stories about heroes. There's something about that hero story that resonates in us. Oftentimes, the hero doesn't realize what they're capable of, or until someone or something, fantastic comes along that kind of inspires them or draws that awesomeness out of them. Now, based on everyone that I've spoken to over the last few days, you guys are awesome. I mean, I bet you go out and punch sharks on a daily basis and not even think twice about it. It's just, punch another shark today. You are the hero in your story. You are capable of more than you realize. And you can do bigger things than you've yet imagined. So, I've said this several times now. You are awesome, and I hope I've made the case for you to really start to internalize that there's a lot more to you than maybe what you think you can do today. I want to encourage you to maximize your strengths and to find those things that you are passionate about and go and pursue them. But that's not the end of, there's more to your story than just being awesome or being really good at some things and being passionate. I believe that every one of us, you included, have a purpose. It's not enough just to be awesome. You were created to share your awesomeness with other people. I believe that our purpose can be summed up, and I've heard this phrase earlier today, that we leave it better than we find it. And it's not just about the campsite, and it's not just about our planet. I believe it's for every relationship, for every encounter, your workplace, your family, your friends, random people that you meet at a conference like this or on the street. Every encounter, every situation is an opportunity where you can leave it better than you found it. People are watching you, like it or not. They notice how you respond. They notice how you react in situations, how you treat other people, how they are watching your character. They want to see how you react when you take responsibility or not, or if you keep your word or not, or you forgive others or not. Did you know that different people have different personalities? And they have different ways of seeing the world. When people receive the way people receive information, how they process information, how they respond to conflict, everybody has different experiences and different backgrounds and the way they react. Now, our industry attracts a lot of people with, let's say, suboptimal people skills. We can be productive and get quite far in our careers just on our technical skills alone. And most of us, myself included, for most of my life, I've been, much more comfortable communicating with my computer than I have been with the people that are around me. Like it or not, we are relational beings, and we are designed to live in community with one another. I submit to you that there are 3 inevitable things in life. There's death, taxes, and PowerPoint. Sooner or later, it's going to happen. You're going to be, required to get up and give some kind of presentation, whether it's to your team or to a group of folks in your company. Some may be total strangers, maybe a wedding. I don't know. It's going to happen. In 2011, I finally got up the courage to give my first talk at a meetup. And I stank. I was terrible. But a funny thing happened. I had people come up to me and tell me to my face that I did a great job. That, I was convinced I was the worst speaker in speaker history. And it took a while for it to sink in, but I learned a really, important and valuable lesson about the power of community. There are people out there in this world, you probably know some, who are just amazing at being human, who will look past your mistakes, who will see the good and potential that is in you, and will encourage you to do hard things, like share your, get up in front of a meetup. Because when you do hard stuff like that, everyone benefits. I hope every day I'm a little bit more like one of those kinds of people that's always encouraging and helping others to be more awesome. Here's one of my favorite quotes. When I gave my first talk, people didn't remember that I fumbled around with a demo failure. They didn't remember maybe even the technology or whatever it was that I was speaking about. But they remember me, and that in some small way, I helped them with their life or their career. In 2016, I had the privilege of giving a keynote at Music City Code in Nashville, Tennessee, which is where I used to live. And I had more than one person come up to me. I told this same story about how I got started and how I was terrible at my first talk. And I had people coming up to me afterwards to say, I was there. I remember when you gave your first talk. And you're right, you were terrible. Thanks. And you may be thinking, well, I understand being asked or forced to speak, but why would I volunteer to speak when that's like the worst thing you could possibly ask me to do? It's terrifying, and it is. But let me tell you, having someone not only understand that message that you're trying to communicate, but then be inspired to go and do that thing that you're talking about and do things that you've not even imagined could be done with that thing that you're talking about, that's one of the most rare and precious rewards I have ever experienced. And public speaking is an amazing skill that you can learn to share your awesomeness with others. And it can open doors and opportunities and launch you ahead as a leader in your community and your company and organization. The truth is, public speaking is just one example. There are so many ways that you can share your awesomeness with others. There's this thing called imposter syndrome, though, that creeps up. I believe it's one of the biggest reasons why more people don't share their knowledge and experiences through speaking and so forth. And you may feel like, well, I don't have anything important to share. My knowledge is insignificant. People will just scoff or laugh if I try to share something. You know, I'm a fraud. And I feel that way too, so many times. I've been speaking now for many years, and I get to meet a lot of other speakers. This feeling of imposter syndrome is universal, except for a couple of freaks. The key thing, though, is that you don't have to be an expert. You have something that no one else has. And that is your experience. People can argue with semantics and best practices or whatever all day long, but they cannot argue with your experience. They can't argue with your motivation for doing something and for what you've learned from your experiences. Even the mistakes that you've made. It may sound counterintuitive. Well, I don't want to share mistakes. Well, that could be the most valuable information that you could give someone else to say, hey, look, I messed up here, and I want you to not make the same mistakes I made. Don't be afraid to share your knowledge and experience with others. You ever heard of the Dilbert principle? It's basically the most ineffective workers are systematically promoted to the position where they can do the least amount of damage, which is management. Now, early in my career, I worked underneath a boss that exemplified this Dilbert principle. He was pretty horrible, and I really didn't like the man personally or professionally, and his incompetence was legendary. He was notoriously bad. Mistakes were named after him, and yet he continued to rise in rank and responsibilities. A lot of the work that I was required to do under his direction was of no value to anyone. For example, I was asked to create a huge binder of documentation for every method, every stored procedure, for all the code that my team was writing, and no one was going to read this ever. Meaningless and pointless work is soul-crushing. And I toughed it out for more than a year, but I did everything that I could to get out from underneath his management, but with no hope in sight, I took a job working somewhere else. And I said to myself, life is too short to work somewhere that stinks. I started living by this philosophy, and I started giving it as advice to others when I heard them complaining about their workplace. In technology, we are very privileged that we are in such high demand that we can, by and large, pick and choose where we get to work. If you don't like where you're working, there's 5 recruiters, that can't wait to network with you right now. That isn't the case for most other professions. Now, the problem is, this idea began to pollute my perspective. And when things started to go sour, I would think, oh, great, here we go again. Time to start looking for a new job. Sometime later, I was in a similar situation. I was unhappy with work and things that I was doing, and I started interviewing at other companies, and I had a really attractive job offer, and I was trying to decide whether or not I should accept the offer. And that's when my wife asked me 2 questions that stopped me in my tracks. She asked, have you done everything that you can possibly do? And if you left now, would you have any regrets? Fine. I declined the job offer, and I committed to doing everything in my power to make my team successful. In the end, I still left that job 1 year later, but I left having no regrets and being extremely proud of the work that we had accomplished. It had been one of the most prolific years in my entire career. Sure, there can be toxic environments, there can be career-limiting situations, and there can be, incredible opportunities that come along that justify changing a job. But for everything else, I've got a new mindset. Life is too short to let things stay the way they are. I've learned that taking ownership and responsibility is always the right thing to do, and it has far-reaching effects. Remember, I said people are watching you. And when they see you bucking up and saying, we're going to make this better, what can I do to make this better? They're going to notice. It's always the right time to do the right thing, as I believe Martin Luther King Jr. said. Now, every now and again, on the flip side of the coin, we have to say goodbye to some people. And sometimes they're really, really good people we don't want to see going. And regardless of the circumstances, we let them know how much we're going to miss them. Sometimes we throw a party and, celebrate all the work and special things that they have done on our team and in our organization. We might even talk about funny stories. Remember that time you shot milk out of your nose? I'm really going to miss you shooting things out of your nose. So I began to wonder, why do we have to wait until someone is leaving before we tell them how awesome they are? Maybe if we had told them in the first place, they wouldn't be leaving. Maybe. So I decided to run an experiment. Every Friday afternoon, I would post on our Slack a tribute to someone that I worked with or someone within our organization. In this example, Nakota was our customer support manager, and as someone described, he does the work of 10,000 people. Nakota consistently went above and beyond to make our customers happy, and he is awesome. Now, the drawing isn't important. It's just something fun that I like to do. And usually the thing that I said about that person wasn't all that fantastic or earth-shattering. The real magic, I want you to get, the real magic is what everyone else said throughout the day. High fives, story after story. It was just beautiful. All I did was simply start the conversation. And this experiment lasted for about a year, and I had so many people come up to me and thank me for being either recognized in this way or for just thanking me for recognizing someone that they knew was awesome and that they cared about. It was really a beautiful thing. Every one of us wants to know that the things we do matter, that our work has value and significance, that we have value and significance. Encouragement highlights a person's strength. So what is it? It's positive reinforcement. They now go and do more of that awesome thing that got them recognized. And reflecting back over more than 10 years of agile development, I've come to the conclusion that respect is the most fundamental principle in that kind of manifesto. That respect is that key ingredient to any significant positive change, to process improvement, to the success of your team. Respect at the foundation is the fuel that's going to enable you and your coworkers to want to fight for one another and to do whatever you can to be successful. If you know me, I can't go for very long without talking about bacon. So I submit to you the highest award of excellence, the Reverend Geek Bacon Award. When you encourage someone, as I said before, it's positive reinforcement. They go out and they do more of the awesome things that you recognize them for, and it has a cascading effect. Those people go and encourage other people and to do more awesome things. You could be the catalyst that starts a chain of really awesome things in your organization. Now, I grew up in a family where encouragement wasn't something that was shared a lot, ever, really. And, for me, being encouraging is kind of like, it's not in my nature. It's kind of like getting up to give a talk. It's not something that feels natural. So it's yet another skill that I've had to learn, and I believe it's a skill that you can learn as well. So let me show you. Imagine you have a coworker named Mary, and you can say, Mary, I want you to know how much I appreciate the database work that you do for our team. Not only that, but you're always smiling and cheerful. You make everyone's day. You light up a room when you come in the office. Thank you for being awesome. Paul, thank you for always being willing to help. I know I can always count on you. When I have a problem, I can talk to you and you come up with all kinds of creative solutions. You can always help me get unstuck. Thank you so much. You are awesome. Mark, thank you for always coming to work fully clothed. And for wearing deodorant on most days. Keep up the good work, buddy. See, it's not that hard. You can find things to encourage the people you work with. So if there's someone that you know, either recently or maybe even far in the past who has made a positive impact on you, let them know about it. Don't wait until it's too late. I have one more story I want to share with you. I want to take you back to 1982, Thanksgiving. So in the U.S., we have this holiday we call Thanksgiving. And stereotypical America, it's mostly overeating and then complaining about, eating too much and watching some football. But in our family, it was kind of a tradition that we would all gather at my aunt and uncle's house, and it was kind of like a big family reunion. And we'd make a lot of food, and we'd sit around and we'd talk, get to catch up with family members that we hadn't seen, in a year. And I really enjoyed these because I got to hang out with my cousins and so forth and have a lot of fun. And their house was really nice. It was like a different kind of atmosphere than what I was used to. Now, this particular fateful Thanksgiving, 1982, I discovered one of these in my cousin's bedroom. And I don't know if I spent the whole time, playing around with this TRS-80 from Radio Shack, but I know that it made an impression on my aunt and uncle. And sometime after Thanksgiving, my mom got a phone call, and we got in the car, and we drove a couple hours away to my aunt and uncle's house. And there waiting for me was a cardboard box with a TRS-80, a cassette drive, a floppy drive, a dot matrix printer, a bunch of cables, and this book. This one kind and very generous act launched me on a journey of careers and a love for technology. I continue to be impressed and inspired by my aunt and uncle's example of investing not only in me and other lives in their family, but countless others. I can't thank them enough for the impact that they made on my life and my livelihood. You have an amazing opportunity to impact the people that are around you, your family, your coworkers, your community. You never know if some act of kindness or a small investment of your time, a word of encouragement, could be that catalyst that launches someone else on their lifelong journey of passion and even their livelihood. So when you walk out those doors today, you have a choice. You can continue learning and growing to share. You can continue to, gain in knowledge and experience. I encourage you to share your awesomeness with others. Your adventure is just beginning. So this is my challenge to you. Regardless of your age, amount of experience, your job title, you have amazing potential to impact your workplace and your family and your community and beyond in significant and powerful ways. Go maximize your talents. Go be courageous. Go inspire others. Go and be awesome. Thank you.